Hello Vapers, and welcome back to another episode of the Vape Dojo Vape Show. I'm your host Bill, and in today's video we're going to be talking about battery safety right after this intro. Welcome back Vapers. Chances are in the past couple years you've probably seen an article or a video somewhere in the news or online about a battery venting or exploding. And we're here today to give you a few tips and guidelines to help make sure that you're using your batteries in the safest manner possible. To start with, you want to make sure you're always using the right kind of battery. There are a few brands that are pretty commonplace, such as LG, Sony, Samsung. Your batteries might look something like one of these. The most common sizes you'll see are 18650 and 26650, like this big guy here, but there are a few other sizes out there. You always want to make sure that you're using the right battery for your device and that you're purchasing your batteries from a reputable retailer. Whoever that may be, you want to make sure it's a company that you trust, because batteries just aren't the area to pinch pennies. One of the most important things to consider anytime you're talking about battery safety is the physical condition of the battery, which is why every time you remove or insert a battery from a device, you want to make sure you're performing a visual inspection of the entire battery. You want to look over the surface and make sure there's no rips or nicks or tears or anything like that in the wrap, and especially around the insulator. You want to make sure the insulator is still in place, the way it came from the factory. It hasn't moved or gotten torn or bent or anything like that. You also want to make sure there's no weird marks or stains or scuffs. Make sure the battery is the same size. It might sound a little silly, but batteries can potentially swell over time. So if your battery is getting a little bit snug and it's not fitting as easily as it used to, it might be time to get a new battery. But it's very important to remember that anytime you're putting the battery in or out of your device, to perform a very thorough inspection to make sure it's in good condition. When talking about battery safety, it's very important to consider the difference between regulated and mechanical devices. Now this can get a little bit complicated, so why don't we go ahead, dive down up close, take a look at a few different devices so that we can see the key differences pretty easily. Alright, so next we'll take a look at the mechanical mods. Now mechanical devices are a little more simple than regulated devices, but they don't have the protection that you get with a regulated mod. There's no short circuit protection with these, no chip, nothing like that, so it's even more important with a mechanical device that you're being safe and careful with your batteries. Now these are all tube devices here, but mechanical devices are also available in box mods with 2, sometimes even 3 batteries. And in those cases, it's even more important to remember to install your batteries in the correct recommended manner. Now with mechanical devices, typically with these tube models, you'll have a body and then a positive up top and a negative down bottom, which will usually have a switch built in and often a locking ring. It's important to make sure you're installing your battery correctly with a mechanical tube mod, because you want to make sure the positive end of the battery is always aligned with the positive pin up top, and the negative end of the battery is always aligned with the negative end of the tube and the negative end down at the switch. Now, if you're not using a mechanical device, it's important to remember to take the battery out of it or to lock the locking ring if it has one. Because like I said, there's no protection, there's no chip in here, there's nothing to keep it from firing. So if the button is pressed in, the device will continue firing and you could potentially have a problem. And you want to be sure that you always check your coil or your build before you put a new atomizer on a mechanical device, just to make sure there are no shorts or anything like that. It's very important with mechanical devices to remember safety comes first. And you want to be especially careful with your builds and batteries when you're using a mechanical device. Always remember to check twice. There is no chip acting as a safety net in mechanical devices. Alright, now we're going to zoom out and talk about some tips for proper battery storage and disposal. Now, once your battery has lived its life and it's time to move on, it's always important to remember that you need to dispose of your battery in a safe manner as well. You never want to just throw the battery right in the trash can at home or the office or anything like that, because if it makes contact with anything metal that might be in the trash can, you could have some problems. So you want to make sure that you always take your battery to your local authorized battery recycling center. For us, the local Best Buy takes care of it. There's a bin where we can drop them off. It's very easy. But it's very important to remember that you always want to dispose of your batteries in the safest manner possible. Take them to your local battery recycling center. And just to provide a little extra clarity, in case you're still a little fuzzy about what's a good battery and what's a bad battery, we're going to show you a few examples here of some batteries we're going to be taking to our local recycling center immediately following shooting this video. Okay, so here we have a few examples of some batteries that have some problems. Some of the most common things you'll run into are tears and rips in the wrapper. Most of them will look something like this. We actually tore these wrappers up a bit for this video to show you what it would look like, But a lot of the time when you're taking batteries in and out of a device constantly or putting them on and off of a charger constantly, you can end up with rips and tears in the wrapper. Now that doesn't necessarily mean the battery itself is bad. If it's just a small rip or tear and you notice it shortly after it happens, you can just replace the wrap without replacing the entire battery. Now there can be some other problems, like you might notice with this battery there's no insulator ring. This white or black ring that you'll see around the positive end of the battery is one of the most important components of the battery, because your negative and positive are right next to each other in this area, and if something metal were to work its way in there and there were no insulator ring, you could end up with a real problem on your hands. So this battery that has no insulator ring is definitely not safe to use. You can see it's kind of crunchy up at the top here and just beat up. This one actually has some spots and stains that look like it might have had some e-liquid leak into it at some point. And the bottom is pretty torn up as well. So this is an example of a battery that's in real bad shape and needs to be disposed of. But any sort of nicks, tears, stains, bumps, anything, even just your wrap being a little bit crunchy up top, that's cause to rewrap your battery or just go ahead and replace it. We're going to go ahead and zoom out and talk about how to properly store and protect your batteries. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few different ways to protect your batteries. Anytime you're going to be leaving your house and you have to take a few extra batteries with you, you want to make sure that you're carrying them in some sort of a protective case. You don't want to just throw them in your pocket or a purse or somewhere in the car where they could potentially touch against some loose change or keys or anything like that and cause a problem. So there's a few different case options available. We carry a few hard plastic cases that can hold 2, 4, some even 6 batteries. And then we also have some cases that have like a soft shell and kind of zip up, and you can fit 3, 4, I even carry 6 batteries in this case pretty easily. You can also find cases that hold just a single battery online as well. But it's always important to remember that you want to carry your batteries in a case. You don't want to leave them exposed to anything that could potentially damage them in any way. Now we know this video doesn't cover every aspect of battery chemistry and safety that there is out there, and quite frankly we don't have time to make that video, but these tips should help make sure that you're using your batteries in a safe manner. And if you enjoyed this video or you found it helpful, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions about your battery that we didn't cover in this video, go ahead and just leave a question in the comment section below. We'll be sure to get back to you. If you found this video helpful, make sure you like and subscribe, and be sure to follow us on social media. The links can be found in the description below. My name is Bill, this has been the Vape Dojo Vape Show. We'll see you next time.